Controversy tonight surrounding some of the dramatic media declarations in the wake of the General Flynn ouster. A column in the New York Times put it on par with some of the most devastating attacks in our nation. Reading in part, quote, "We were attacked on December 7th, 1941. We were attacked on September 11th, 2001. And we were attacked on November 8th, 2016. Dan Rather added this, "Watergate is the biggest political scandal of my lifetime until maybe now." And finally this from Chuck Todd.
One of what is arguably the biggest presidential scandal involving a foreign government since Iran-Contra. Take a breath. Hyperbole aside, folks, hunker down, because this is a Class 5 political hurricane that's hitting Washington.
A Class 5 political hurricane. Ben Shapiro, editor-in-chief of thedailywire.com, and Richard Fowler, nationally syndicated radio host and Fox News contributor. Gentlemen, I hope you're hunkered down because this is big, big, big. Ben, what do you make of all that?
I mean, everybody sounds like a used car salesman trying to hawk an old Chevy. I mean, wow, it's the level of outrage over something that we don't even know what happened yet. I mean, I'm still confused as to what Flynn did that was supposed to be the worst thing that ever happened since the biblical plagues. And between Thomas Friedman, who apparently has the brain power of an overused hairdryer, and Dan Rather, the godfather of modern media fake news, talking about how this is the greatest crisis that we've ever seen in modern political history. Again, what happened? It's a very simple. Like, should we know what happened before we start to freak out and lose our minds?
Yeah, I mean, it's an excellent question, Richard. When you dig into the New York Times piece today, which, started off declaring that there had been so much contact between the Trump campaign and Russia that it was just, it's so dramatic in the nature of it that they just had to dig and dig. And then it said, but we dug and dug, and so far we haven't found anything at all in terms of a nefarious connection. They may, but we don't know that yet.
I mean, Martha, you're right. We don't know. We don't know that there is a crisis. I think the media is being a little rough on the Trumpster, but here's why. I think the reason why the media is being so rough on the Trumpster has everything to do with the fact that they've circled the wagon, that they haven't released any information. A little bit of advice for the Donald, if he's watching tonight, right? The first thing you do is you release these transcripts to the Intelligence Committee. They'll get it classified, get it over with so you could move on. He's going to need political capital to
I remember when that argument was used for Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, and it's the right argument. Just get it all out there. Right? Because remember, he's going to need political capital to roll out his infrastructure package. He's going to need political capital to roll out his tax reforms. And right now, 90% of Republicans like him. But if this drip, drip, drip continues, Martha, it could create doom for the Trump administration just 30 days in, or 27 days in.
Put up these headlines that we have, because this story really broke a month ago. It was out there, intercepted Russian communication, part of inquiry into Trump associates. And that story back then, and a Washington Post story back then as well, said that they didn't find anything nefarious. They didn't find any connection between these communications and the election. They just found, that there was phone calls and there was contact that they were concerned about. We know Sally Yates brought that to the attention of the White House as well. And then I want to remind everyone of this moment with President Obama a while back. Watch this.
This is my last election. Yeah, and after my election, I have more flexibility. Yeah, and I transmit this information to Vladimir.
I understand. So after the election, we might be able to talk about that issue that's bothering you. Is that essentially what we think General Flynn may have said, Ben?
I think that's basically the idea, the only difference being that President Obama was in the middle of an election cycle, and Flynn apparently said a lot of these things after the election cycle was over. It was like 3 weeks before he was appointed NSA. Richard, you're giving a lot of advice to Donald Trump, and I agree with a lot of the advice that you're suggesting for the Trump administration, but some advice for the media. Guys, if you want people to take you seriously, you have to stop setting your hair on fire and running into plate glass windows before you even know what the hell is going on. I mean, you are jumping on every rake in a 300-mile radius before you even let all the facts out. We can't take you seriously unless you lay out a series of facts that we can believe, instead of blowing up headline. Like the headline on that New York Times piece could easily have been, investigation shows no casual links between Trump campaign and Russians.
But I mean, the truth is, this investigation it's an investigation that's ongoing. When you step on a rake, it can hit you in the head.
Yeah.
So once you've laid down these markers that this is Watergate, this is Pearl Harbor, this is 9/11, you better be very careful what you put out there.